Welcome back to Crowned Black Heroes, where we tell the stories that history deliberately hid from you. Today, I'm going to tell you something that's going to make you question everything you learned in school about the civil rights movement. You know Rosa Parks, right? Everyone knows Rosa Parks, the tired seamstress who refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery bus in 1955, sparking the Montgomery Bus Boycott and helping launch the modern civil rights movement. Her story is taught in every school in America. Her name is synonymous with courage and resistance. But what if I told you that Rosa Parks wasn't the first? What if I told you that 9 months before Rosa Parks made her famous stand, a 15-year-old black girl did the exact same thing? She refused to give up her seat on a Montgomery bus. She was arrested, dragged off the bus in handcuffs, thrown in jail. Her case went to court, and the civil rights leaders knew about her, studied her case, and then made a deliberate decision not to use her as the face of their movement. Why? Because she was too young, because her skin was too dark, because she got pregnant at 16. So they waited for someone more palatable, someone who fit the image they wanted, and that person was Rosa Parks. The 15-year-old girl's name was Claudette Colvin, and her story is one of the most important and most ignored stories of the civil rights movement. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because we expose the truth that history textbooks hide. And if this story makes you angry that you were never taught about Claudette Colvin, smash that like button and drop a comment. Now let me tell you about the real first woman who refused to give up her seat in Montgomery and why the civil rights movement erased her from history. We begin in Montgomery, Alabama, in the early 1950s. Montgomery is a deeply segregated city. Black people and white people live in separate worlds, with white people holding all the power and black people subjected to constant discrimination, violence, and humiliation. One of the most visible and daily humiliations is the bus system. Montgomery's buses are segregated. The front section is reserved for white passengers. The back section is for black passengers. But there's also a middle section where the rules are more complicated and more designed to humiliate black people. Black passengers can sit in the middle section, but if white passengers board and there are no seats in the white section, black passengers in the middle section must give up their seats and move further back. This means that a black person can be sitting in a seat they paid for, and they have to give it up just because a white person wants it. And if the bus is crowded and there's nowhere to move back to, black passengers are expected to stand even if there are empty seats, because those seats might be needed for white passengers who haven't boarded yet. Bus drivers in Montgomery have police authority. They can and do arrest black passengers who don't comply with segregation rules. They're often verbally abusive, calling black passengers by slurs, treating them with contempt. For black people in Montgomery, riding the bus is a daily exercise in swallowing their dignity and enduring racism. Claudette Colvin is born on September 5, 1939 in Montgomery. She's raised by her great-aunt and great-uncle, Mary Ann, and Q.P. Colvin, who adopt her and give her their last name. Claudette grows up in a poor black neighborhood, attending segregated schools, experiencing the daily reality of Jim Crow's segregation. But Claudette is smart, studious, and increasingly aware of the injustice around her. She's a good student who loves learning. She reads about African American history, about Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth, about people who resisted oppression. And she starts to question why black people in Montgomery accept the humiliation of segregation. In school, Claudette learns about the Constitution, about the principles of equality and justice that America claims to stand for. She reads the 14th Amendment, which guarantees equal protection under the law. She understands that segregation is not just unjust, but unconstitutional. Yet every day she rides segregated buses where she's treated as inferior. The contradiction bothers her deeply. Claudette is also involved with the NAACP Youth Council, a group for young black people learning about civil rights and activism. The adult advisor for this group is Rosa Parks. Yes, that Rosa Parks. Rosa is a respected member of the Black community, a secretary for the local NAACP chapter, and a mentor to young people like Claudette. Rosa teaches the youth council members about their constitutional rights, about the history of Black resistance, about the importance of standing up to injustice. Claudette looks up to Rosa Parks, admires her commitment to civil rights. On March 2, 1955, Claudette is 15 years old, a sophomore at Booker T. Washington High School. It's a Wednesday, and Claudette is riding the bus home from school. The bus is a Highland Gardens bus, one of the lines that goes through Black neighborhoods. Claudette boards the bus and sits in the middle section, which Black passengers are allowed to use. She's sitting with some classmates talking about school. As the bus continues its route, more passengers board. The front section reserved for white people starts to fill up. At one stop, a white woman boards, and there are no available seats in the white section. The bus driver, Robert W. Clear, looks back at the middle section where Claudette and other Black passengers are sitting. He orders the Black passengers in that row to get up and move back to make room for the white woman. The other Black passengers in Claudette's row stand up and move, but Claudette stays seated. She's paid her fare. She's sitting in a seat she's entitled to sit in. And she's thinking about everything she's learned, about the Constitution, about her rights, about people like Harriet Tubman who resisted oppression. She thinks about what Rosa Parks taught her about standing up for your rights, and she makes a decision. She's not moving. The bus driver, Robert Clear, is angry. He comes back to where Claudette is sitting and demands that she get up. Claudette refuses. She says, "It's my constitutional right to sit here. I paid my fare." The bus driver threatens to call the police. Claudette still refuses to move, so the driver stops the bus and calls for police backup. 2 police officers arrive. They board the bus and approach Claudette. The other passengers are watching, some scared, some curious. The officers demand that Claudette get up. She refuses, citing her constitutional rights. The officers don't care about her constitutional rights. They grab this 15-year-old girl and drag her off the bus. They handcuff her. Claudette is terrified. She's crying. She's never been arrested before. She's just a teenager, and these adult white police officers are manhandling her, treating her like a criminal. The officers shove Claudette into a police car and take her to the city jail. She's not taken to a juvenile facility. She's thrown into the adult jail with adult prisoners. She's booked, fingerprinted, and locked in a cell. Claudette is charged with violating the segregation law, disturbing the peace, and assaulting the police officers. The assault charge is absurd. The officers grabbed and dragged her, but they're claiming she assaulted them. This is a common tactic used against Black people who resist, blaming them for the violence done to them. Claudette's family is notified that she's been arrested. They're terrified. In 1955, Montgomery, a Black person arrested for defying white authority, is in serious danger. The Ku Klux Klan is active. Lynchings still happen. Claudette's father, Q.P. Colvin, sleeps with a shotgun by the door that night, afraid that the Klan will come to their house. Eventually, Claudette's family arranges for her release. But she's facing serious charges. If convicted, she could be sent to reform school, could have a criminal record that follows her forever. The Black community in Montgomery is aware of what happened. News spreads quickly. A teenage girl refused to give up her seat and was arrested. The NAACP takes notice. They're always looking for cases they can use to challenge segregation in court. E.D. Nixon, president of the local NAACP chapter, investigates Claudette's case. Rosa Parks, who knows Claudette from the Youth Council, is involved in the discussions about whether to use Claudette's case as a test case to challenge bus segregation. There's initial excitement. Claudette is articulate, knows her rights, has a strong case. Her arrest was clearly unjust. This could be the case that challenges segregation. But as the NAACP leaders dig deeper and discuss strategy, doubts emerge. Claudette is only 15. Civil rights leaders worry that her youth makes her seem less credible, less sympathetic. Worse, Claudette is poor. Her family lives in a small, run-down house. She doesn't fit the image of respectability that civil rights leaders think is necessary to win white sympathy and support. And then, a few months after her arrest, Claudette becomes pregnant. She's 16 years old, unmarried, and pregnant. In 1950s America, especially in the conservative South, this destroys her credibility in the eyes of many people. The father of her child is a married man, which makes the situation even more scandalous. Civil rights leaders make a cold, calculated decision. Claudette Colvin cannot be the face of the movement to desegregate buses. She's too young, too poor, too dark-skinned, and now pregnant and unmarried. They need someone older, more respectable, someone who fits the image of a dignified, law-abiding citizen who simply wants her rights. So they wait. They wait for a better test case, for someone who can be the symbol they need. Meanwhile, Claudette's legal case proceeds. In March 1955, she's convicted of assault and violating segregation laws. The conviction stands. Her record is marked, and the NAACP doesn't use her case to challenge segregation. Claudette is devastated. She stood up for her rights. She did what Rosa Parks taught her to do. And now, she's been abandoned by the very people who should be supporting her. 9 months later, on December 1st, 1955, Rosa Parks boards a Montgomery bus. She sits in the middle section. When a white passenger needs a seat, the bus driver orders Rosa and other black passengers in her row to move. Rosa refuses. She's arrested, just like Claudette. But Rosa is 42 years old, a respected adult. She's married, employed, active in the church and the NAACP. She has the image of respectability that civil rights leaders were looking for. And critically, Rosa's arrest is not spontaneous. It's been planned, or at least anticipated. The NAACP and other civil rights organizations are ready. They immediately organize the Montgomery Bus Boycott. Black people in Montgomery stop riding the buses. The boycott lasts over a year, creates economic pressure on the bus company and the city, and becomes a defining moment of the civil rights movement. A young pastor named Martin Luther King Jr. emerges as a leader of the boycott. The world watches Montgomery, and Rosa Parks becomes famous, an icon of the movement. But here's what most people don't know. While the Montgomery Bus Boycott is getting attention, while Rosa Parks is becoming a household name, the legal case that actually ends bus segregation in Montgomery features Claudette Colvin. In 1956, civil rights lawyers file a federal lawsuit called Browder versus Gale, challenging the constitutionality of Alabama's bus segregation laws. The lawsuit needs plaintiffs, black people who have been harmed by bus segregation. Claudette Colvin is one of 4 plaintiffs in this case. The lead plaintiff is Aurelia Browder, an adult woman. But Claudette, at 16, is also a named plaintiff. And when the case goes to trial, Claudette testifies. She's the star witness, according to the lawyers. She tells the court about her arrest, about being dragged off the bus, about the injustice of segregation. Her testimony is powerful, articulate, compelling. In June 1956, a 3-judge federal panel rules in favor of the plaintiffs. They declare that bus segregation in Alabama is unconstitutional, violating the 14th Amendment. The case is appealed to the U.S. Supreme Court. In November 1956, the Supreme Court affirms the lower court's decision. Bus segregation in Alabama is unconstitutional. The Montgomery Bus Boycott ends in victory. But here's the crucial point. The victory comes from Browder versus Gale, the legal case where Claudette Colvin was a plaintiff and key witness. Rosa Parks' arrest sparked the boycott, which created political pressure and brought attention. But the actual legal victory that ended bus segregation came from Claudette's case. Without Claudette, without her willingness to be a plaintiff and testify, the legal case might not have succeeded. Yet when the history of the Montgomery Bus Boycott is written, When the story is told in textbooks and documentaries, Claudette Colvin is barely mentioned. Rosa Parks gets the credit. Martin Luther King Jr. is celebrated as the leader. The lawyers are acknowledged. But the 15-year-old girl who refused to give up her seat first, who was arrested first, who was a key plaintiff in the case that actually ended segregation, is forgotten. Claudette lives with this for decades. She's erased from history. In 1958, Claudette moves to New York City. She's tired of Montgomery, tired of being reminded of how she was used and then discarded. She needs a fresh start. In New York, Claudette works as a nurse's aide for 35 years. She raises her children. She lives a quiet, ordinary life. She doesn't tell most people about her role in the civil rights movement because when she does, they don't believe her or they don't care. For decades, Claudette watches as Rosa Parks is celebrated, as the Montgomery Bus Boycott is commemorated, as history is written, without her. And it hurts. It hurts to know that you were first, that you were brave, that you played a crucial role, and that no one acknowledges it. But Claudette also understands why she was passed over. She understands the politics of respectability, the need for symbols that white America could accept. She doesn't blame Rosa Parks, who was doing what the movement asked of her. But Claudette does feel that the full story should be told, that her contribution should be acknowledged. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, historians start to recover Claudette's story. A journalist named Philip Hughes researches her life and publishes a young adult book called Claudette Colvin, Twice Toward Justice in 2009. The book wins the National Book Award and brings Claudette's story to a new generation. Suddenly, people are learning about the 15-year-old girl who refused to give up her seat before Rosa Parks. Claudette gives interviews, telling her story, publicly for the first time in decades. She's in her 70s now, looking back on a life shaped by that one act of resistance when she was 15. In 2021, at age 82, Claudette receives a measure of justice. A judge in Montgomery expunges her juvenile record, erasing the conviction that has followed her for 66 years. It's a symbolic gesture, but it matters. The state is finally acknowledging that her arrest was unjust. Today, Claudette Colvin is 85 years old and still living. She's seen her story finally told, finally acknowledged. Schools are teaching about her. Books are written about her. She's no longer hidden. But it took over 60 years for this recognition to come, and it came too late for her to benefit from it in the way Rosa Parks benefited from her fame. Claudette's story raises uncomfortable questions about the civil rights movement and how we remember it. The movement was led by brilliant strategists who understood that optics mattered, that to win support, especially from white Americans, they needed symbols that fit certain images. They needed dignity, respectability, adults rather than teenagers, people whose personal lives were beyond reproach. This strategy worked in many ways. The movement did win significant victories. But the cost was that people like Claudette, whose contribution was real and important, were erased. And the criteria used to determine who was acceptable as a symbol respectability, age, appearance, were problematic because they reflected the same prejudices the movement was fighting against. The fact that Claudette was considered too dark-skinned reveals colorism within the black community, the preference for lighter skin that's a legacy of slavery and racism. The fact that her pregnancy disqualified her reveals the respectability politics that demand that victims of injustice be perfect in order to deserve justice. These standards are unfair. Claudette Colvin didn't need to be respectable to have the right to sit in a bus seat she paid for. Her rights weren't contingent on her age, or her appearance, or her personal life. They were her rights as a human being. But the civil rights movement, operating in a deeply racist society, felt it had to play by rules that privileged image over justice. And in doing so, they contributed to Claudette's erasure. There's also something important about the fact that Claudette was 15. Teenage activists are often dismissed or ignored because adults don't take young people seriously. But throughout history, young people have been at the forefront of social movements. They have the courage to challenge injustice before they've been worn down by compromise and reality. Claudette, at 15, saw clearly that segregation was wrong and had the courage to resist even when adults around her were more cautious. That deserves recognition, not dismissal. Looking at the full history of the Montgomery Bus Boycott, it's clear that it wasn't just Rosa Parks' individual act that created change. It was a coordinated effort involving many people. The organizers who planned the boycott, the thousands of black people who walked to work for over a year rather than ride segregated buses, the lawyers who argued the legal case, and the plaintiffs, including Claudette Colvin, who put themselves forward to challenge unjust laws. Rosa Parks' contribution was real and important, but she was part of a larger movement, and crediting only her simplifies and distorts history. It creates a myth that one perfect person can single-handedly change things, when the reality is that movements require many people, many contributions, many acts of courage, including acts by imperfect people like a 15-year-old pregnant girl. Claudette herself has said that she doesn't want to diminish Rosa Parks' role or legacy. She just wants the full story told. She wants people to know that she was first, that she contributed, that her courage mattered. That seems like a reasonable request. Before I close, I want you to think about why we tell history the way we do. Why do we simplify complex movements into stories about individual heroes? Why do we need our heroes to be perfect and respectable? What does it say about us that we prefer a neat story about Rosa Parks over the complicated, messy truth that includes Claudette Colvin? And what other stories are being hidden or simplified right now? What modern-day Claudette Colvins are out there, doing important work, showing real courage, but being ignored because they don't fit the image we think activists or heroes should have? History is written by people, and people make choices about whose stories to tell and how to tell them. Those choices reflect our values and our biases. Recovering stories like Claudette Colvin's isn't just about correcting the historical record. It's about examining how we decide whose voices matter, whose contributions count, who gets to be a hero, and it's about committing to telling more complete, honest, complicated stories, even when they don't fit neatly into inspiring narratives. Claudette Colvin deserves to be remembered not as a footnote to Rosa Parks' story, but as a courageous young woman who stood up for her rights when it mattered, who paid a price for that courage, and who contributed to the legal victory that ended bus segregation. Her story is American history. It's civil rights history, and it should be taught in every school. If this story changed how you think about Rosa Parks and the Montgomery Bus Boycott, if it made you question what else you weren't taught, if it made you want to honor Claudette Colvin's courage and contribution, then I need you to act right now. Hit that like button to help this story reach more people. Subscribe to Crown Black Heroes and turn on notifications because we tell the complete stories that textbooks hide. Drop a comment below. Tell me if you knew about Claudette Colvin before watching this video. Tell me what you think about the decision to use Rosa Parks instead of Claudette. Tell me what other hidden figures from the civil rights movement we should talk about. Share this video everywhere. Make sure Claudette Colvin's name is known. Make sure when people talk about the Montgomery Bus Boycott, they include her in the story. She deserves that recognition. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being willing to learn the complicated truth instead of the simplified myth. Claudette Colvin is 85 years old and still alive. She lived to see her story finally told and recognized. Let's honor her courage by making sure everyone knows what she did, by teaching her story alongside Rosa Parks' story, by acknowledging all the people, imperfect and complicated as they were, who contributed to the struggle for civil rights. Share this story. Spread the truth. And join me next time for another story that history tried to hide. Until then, stay curious, question what you're taught, and never stop seeking the truth. Peace.